everybody. How you doing today? 7 reasons why I'm going to retire. These are my personal reasons. So the first one is my contract. I wrote these down. I can't remember them all. My contract will end in 1 year. 1 year and a couple weeks. So the end next year, June. And it could end sooner. I signed my contract last year. It's a 2-year contract. This is the 4th time I'm doing it. So I'm going into my 8th year in the job that I'm in now. Last year I reluctantly signed, renewed for 2 more years. I really wanted to get another job. I was not happy where I'm at, but the director and the board asked me to stay for this transition in the organization. They wanted me to do some extra projects because they know I'm bored out of my mind in a way, and I'm very frustrated with just the work environment. So I think they were trying to make it more interesting. But anyway, I agreed to stay on, and it was really only because I didn't get another job I interviewed for. Which I was so disappointed, but in retrospect, I think that was probably good. That was God. That was definitely God preventing me from moving on. I think because my organization needed me at least another year or two, and the other job might have been not as enjoyable as I thought, even though it would have allowed me to work back home in Laos. So my contract is ending in 1 year. The second reason is U.S. government funding is drying up. You're probably familiar with USAID and the U.S. government. Since the new administration in the U.S. came into power in January, one of the efforts they've been making is to cut costs, Doge. So there were some executive orders that went into effect almost the day after President Trump came into office, where all humanitarian funds overseas were halted, were frozen until further notice. So I won't go to a long story about that, but within a month, our USAID grant was canceled, and that was about $1.5 million a year. And our other grant is still continuing. It's more. Losing the $1.5 million was not a super big issue. It was because we were doing good things with it, but it didn't impact our operations that much. The bigger one is the one that really depends, or really will make or break what we do next in the organization. So this is already May, and we are in discussions on organizational planning and whether we have to downsize or not. So we're planning to potentially lose this huge grant, which is 60% of our portfolio, and that will require up to 50% personnel loss or budget cuts. So I don't know where I fit into that. I am part of the organizational planning of the organization, but I could be one of the ones let go. Even though I'm the finance director, I'm actually going to try and make it so that I am one of the ones to let go first. I'm just ready to leave. So I could be losing my job sooner. Within the earliest would be August or September, and anywhere until next June. If I stay, of course, financially, it's better for me. Every month I keep earning an income and delaying any kind of dipping into my savings every month helps. So I'm thinking if I can get at least to the end of this year, 6 more months, that would be very good, and that would be a clean break for the organization. So anyway, so that's number 2. Number 3, you've already heard part of the reason why I want to retire, or I'm going to say stop working for an income, because I don't want to retire. I'm not going to stop doing things. I have a very active time planned for the second part of my life. or this, yeah, and I just, I'm just ready to move on and to focus more on myself and my wife. So I love what I do. So this is number 3. I love what I do, but I dislike my current work situation. It's the longest job I've had. You know, it's going on 8 years in June, and the longest job I had before this was 5 years, and that one I absolutely loved. I cried when I left. I actually cried when I left, and the staff had it was just an amazing experience in Laos, and I'm so sorry that ended. I wish that would have been my final work experience, and not a work experience where I absolutely detest almost like 90% of the time. So number 4, I've tried looking for other jobs, and I only apply for what I am very, very interested in. I did 2 jobs. So when I applied for other jobs, it was 2 other jobs. So the 2 other jobs I actually got interviews for, and they were at the beginning of last year and the year before. And I killed the interviews. I got up to the 3rd and 4th panel interview, and they were jobs that I'm overqualified for, you know, so that's kind of how desperate I was to go for another job. But these were very interesting, and they would have probably allowed me to work from my home in Laos, which is really what I was looking for. They would have been 40 to 50% pay cuts, but if I'm working in Laos, I wouldn't need as much as I do when working in Bangkok. So you have the double effect or consequence of the humanitarian cuts abroad. You know, the things are going to get more and more difficult. Getting a job is going to be much more difficult moving forward. There's going to be tens of thousands of humanitarian workers unemployed. Tens of thousands, probably in the hundreds of thousands. And then there's me, you know, so it's really going to be a needle in a haystack to try and get a job now. Before, I didn't really have any issue. I always had something came up every time I needed a new job. But I think that those days are over, and they're steering away from the middle-aged Westerner. I'll put it that way. So, but anyway, I do hope I can find something to do. I will in Laos. So number 5, health. You know, so I live a pretty healthy lifestyle. I don't feel like I need to try and recover my health. I've been very active lifestyle almost my whole life. Most places I've gone, I've always found a way to exercise. Even when I only had a room in South Sudan, I'd find a way to exercise, do body work, and the part where I didn't do well sometimes was eating. You know, I was limited with eating depending on where I worked. But here, I do more of a maintenance. But basically, this job is killing me. It's killing my mental state. It's killing my physical state. I don't sleep well. I go to bed, and sometimes my mind will be racing with thoughts of the conflict at work and the problems at work and the just issues that most of them are personnel. You know, I can fix problems on paper and making decisions, but it's the conflicts with people and the disputes over silly stuff, and just even being able to express opinions and give an opinion. I'm not salty about it. It is what it is. This is the way it is, but it does affect your health, affects your mental health, and you know, and especially when I'm working with an organization where there's hundreds of thousands of people's lives on the line. That does also weigh on you. You know, I need to make sure I'm managing the money to be most effective and to also be responsible to donors. So this ends up wearing you out and wearing me out, you know, and I sometimes get this chest and my throat contract, and I almost feel like I can't breathe. But I think some of the worst part is the ruminating about conversations and the conflicts and trying to resolve issues and the conflicts at work with the relationships. That's I think probably one of the biggest killers, and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And I think that this is it's just not worth it. And I've had difficult places. I've worked in difficult places before, difficult environments, very dangerous, and with a lot of complicated people, especially when you're working internationally. But this one is different. Maybe I'll go into it at another time, explain myself a little more. But that's not. I'm sidetracking. So number 6. So I'm in my mid-50s, and I don't want to work anymore. I don't want to work for an income like this full time. Maybe consulting here and there if I can get it, if I get the job. But I'm not going to have my 90% of my day sitting in an office, working with people that are, kind of. It's difficult. I just don't want. I want to be with my wife. If you asked me 15 years ago, I remember thinking about this when I was in my 40s, at 38. I never wanted to work. I never wanted to stop working. I just always imagined I'm going to work until I'm dead. I'm going to drop dead in an office or doing a job. And I never would have thought I would want to stop working like I do here and now. Never. And I wish I would have planned a little better for that, at least financially. I always had limited time when I went home to visit my parents. I have to go back to work. And even when I'm there, I have to limit my, sometimes if I have a project to do, they contact me while I'm on holiday. My weekends are gone. I'm on call on the weekends. I'm on call on my holidays. I don't even get holidays. So I can't remember, in 8 years, really having one day off where I didn't have to check my email or respond to something with urgency. And I don't want to have that time constraint anymore. So I just need to make my money work for me, or work the best it can with what I have. And I don't have a lot. I'll be on a modest budget. So I'm going to have to be careful. I'm going to have a budget. I'm going to have to limit any extras once I don't have this regular income coming in. I don't want to work anymore, and this really started, I got this idea when I was 49, 50. When I turned 50, and that's when I was already 2 months into this particular job, I'm like, oh man, I want to stop. I never heard of early retirement before. Did you ever hear of FIRE, financially independent, retire early movement? Somehow I got wind of that, and I'm like, I haven't been able to not think about it. I've been thinking about this for the past 5 years, and I'm like, I need to be able to stop working by 2025. I just need to, and I think it might be able to happen now. And it's 2025. If I can get to the end of the year, I think that would be great. So anyway, think if you're younger now, you will one day want to stop working. I can almost guarantee you. For me, I thought I was a die-hard worker. I even thought I would go back to Peace Corps when I was in Peace Corps when I'm in my early 20s, and I thought I'm going to go to Peace Corps when I'm in my 60s, when I'm retired. Because there was a lady who was in her 60s who did Peace Corps West Africa. She was in Senegal. Wouldn't have been that difficult, but I was thinking to do that. But everything changed, for me. Especially when I met my wife. I want to be with my wife, and that's one of the reasons why I want to stay in Southeast Asia. And number 7, so this is the sad part. My parents passed in their 80s, and my mother's life was taken from her by a drunk driver on her 2 weeks before her 80th birthday. And My dad died 2 weeks later on her birthday. He was like 82. And they had multiple jobs when we were growing up, just to raise us. You know, they were on that borderline. They were at the start of the baby boomer generation, but at the end of the Depression era. But their mentality was more Depression era. It was like, work hard, work hard. You work for the organization, you work for the man. And they worked multiple jobs their entire life just to put the table in the food for their 4 children. My dad worked 3 jobs at a time in the very beginning, because so my mom could stay home with us and raise her kids. And then once we were old enough once we were all in school, she got our first job to work in school so that she could be home for us when we got out of school. So the priority was for her to be home with her children when she could. And when we got older, she got a second job to work in the evening, because we could kind of take care of ourselves, and we were much more independent. But my dad still always worked 2 jobs. It was just part of their work ethic. And when my dad lost his job, he ended up having to he was kind of forced retirement, I guess. And he just went downhill. You know, his self-worth and purpose was in his job, and he just became a couch potato, and things really deteriorated for him. And he went into a depression, and just became a couch potato. My mom continued working up until her 70th, and she just became too weak to be able to do the job anymore. And it was time for her to stop, you know. So she wasn't even neither of them were in retirement that long before they had to stop working, or before they were gone. And they I know my mom enjoyed her retirement. My dad was in a different state, senility and things when he got older, and he had they think he had Parkinson's. So, you know, it was just like their life ended. My mom had another 10-15 years left in her of life, and just her life ended in seconds. So she didn't even get that many years to enjoy her full retirement. She would say she did enjoy it. Working was part of their who they were, but I don't want that to be me. So again, part of this is, and my mom always fretted about money, and I don't want to have to fret about money, you know. So I'm going to live simply. I'm going to retire early enough to enjoy life with my wife. So I'm not retiring with a lot of money. It's a modest budget, but I have to take a chance because I just can't take this anymore. Life is precious. Time is limited, and we just have to take advantage of it. You know, so I think my wife and I, we can live simply in Lao. We don't need a lot, and we have each other. So I think that's going to be enough, and we'll just manage. So anyway, those are my 7 reasons why I am retiring. What about you? Do you have any reasons why you might be retiring in the next year or the next couple years? I'm always interested to know. I've listened to other people talk about their reasons, and I thought I would just share mine. This is an interesting process to write down these thoughts. So I really encourage you to do that. Do some thought, get some purpose, and get some motivation to know why you'd want to retire and what you would want to retire into. So thanks for joining me on this part of the world. Until the next one, take it slow.